Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you. Oh, I love that song, and I love the way you sing it, Lainey. I sing that song too, and I have the same reaction. There's just something so tender about that realization. We're so divided. We're so isolated. We're so separated that we forget that that's all false. The great truth is we're all one. One life, one power, one light, and we're a part of it. This is the thing that makes us so different from most Christian churches. While we happily exist in the household of Christianity and we are followers of the teachings of Jesus, but not so much the religion that was built after and around him, which is about dualism, good versus evil, we hold it very differently. We're much more akin to Hinduism and Buddhism in this understanding that there is only one thing happening. It is this thing called life, and we're a part of it. And everything that feels like separation, it's a mistake, an error thought, as our founder, Charles Fillmore, would have put it. We've been bamboozled by the illusion of separation. I have no idea if this is close to what I was putting in my talk today or not, but I was so inspired. I just want to share that. I have a joke to get me back on track, because you know every sermon has to have a joke, 3 points, and a poem. I love this one. Channel surfing, and ended up on a show for about 10 minutes, and this lady was talking. She was giving this list of really fun things to do. And then I realized it was one of those religious channels, and she was reading a list of sins. So, if you're new to Unity, you're never going to get a list of sins here. We trust you to work out your own choices. We teach that it's really about freedom. That is the birthright of every living soul, as Ernest Holmes said. We're here to experience a life of complete freedom in spirit, in God. Now, of course, that means that we harm no one. Because our freedom, our spiritual freedom, will never bring harm to another soul. I'm so grateful for this teaching that empowers our authentic expression that we are. You know, we do use the term children of God, but I think expression of the infinite is a better term to understand who and what we are. We are eternal, deathless, birthless, changeless spirit who are now incarnate. We're having this thing called human experience, and it's got some texture. Have you noticed? It's got some things that go, oh, that. I'm so grateful for you being here to do this work this afternoon. I hope everyone is able to come and be a part of this, because healing those childhood wounds, that's the work of a lifetime, or maybe many lifetimes. There is a strong belief in reincarnation in our teaching. I don't know, I don't remember, but something like that. I mean, I've had experiences where I go, I think that this is not my first time on the merry-go-round, but I don't know. I do know that this lifetime that we have now is our opportunity to heal old pain and to rediscover the truth of who and what we are and experience freedom, because all of us are carrying around beliefs. Well, not you. I mean, everybody else here is carrying around old false beliefs and limiting ideas, false identities. And we've had to do that to survive. I've just finished the first draft, the last chapter of my memoir, which I wasn't planning on writing a memoir. There are things I was not planning on telling you all about, believe it or not. But I knew that I wanted to write this book, and it's coming together. And boy, that's, I'll give you the title if you want to hear it. Do you want to hear what it's called? It's called There Is Only Love. And the subtitle is How a Good Little Gay Boy Survived Christian Fundamentalism and Held On to God. It'll be a good read, I'm telling you. And I've spent a lot of time exploring my religious abuse that I suffered in that particular spiritual tradition called Christian fundamentalism. And how all of that pain was the doorway into freedom. You know, and growing up in that world, the two worst things you could be were gay and an alcoholic. Check one, check two. And both of those things have been doorways, portals into a life of freedom. So that's really what I'm talking about today, I think. There's a quote from Ernest Holmes, the founder of our sister denomination, Centers for Spiritual Living. He was also, his magnum opus is called The Science of Mind, and it's a wonderful book, first written in 1929, but then with a new edition in the 30s, and that's the one that most people use. But he says this: there is a power for good in the universe greater than you are, and you can use it. And that's really the essence of what we teach here. There is one power, one infinite source, greater than I have currently embodied or understood about myself being, and I can use this power to heal my own life. I can use this power to heal all aspects of my life, my finances, my relationships, my body. Almost all of the founders of the New Thought movement, of which Unity is a part, used this power to physically heal their own bodies. Myrtle Fillmore had tuberculosis, and she got a hold of this teaching in the 1880s, and she began to have this conversation with her own body. And she said, I'm a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness. You got some good genes. You're part of the divine. And for months, she had this conversation. She forgave the parts of her body that she had been holding in judgment and healed her body through this power. And she's just one of many who have had this experience of healing of all types. And so there are 3 points. I promised you 3 points today. The first is to discover the power. The second is to use the power. And the third is to let this power use you for the healing of us all. So Candace did a teaching for the Sunday Connections class a few weeks ago, and it's a model that I've used many times. I've done sermon series on it in the past, but I haven't talked about it from here on Sunday, the stage here on Sunday, in quite a while. It's called The 4 Stages of Consciousness, or the 4 Kingdoms of Consciousness. There are 2 different sources for this material, but I like the way Michael Beckwith sort of shorthands it. The first is to me. It's a stage of consciousness of, sometimes we might call it victim consciousness. Everything is happening to me. It's a very powerless state. The second kingdom, or the consciousness level that we attain, is by me. I discover this power that I'm talking about today. And I begin to speak my word and transform conditions. And at this stage, people they get sort of beginner's luck around this whole manifestation technology, and they get the 4 Ps. You know what those are? Princes, palaces, 3. Princes, palaces, and parking places. And it works. We begin to work differently with the energies of life and manifest and create, demonstrate a truth. A truth known and embodied in us will demonstrate as our life experience. It's a powerful place to be. And that's where our teaching was really born in the 1800s. This idea that we can access this power. But that's only 2 of the 4 stages of consciousness. From there, we can go into the through me, that the divine wants to live and express and give its good to the world through me. And the final kingdom of consciousness is as me, where the individualized persona disappears completely and we are simply in the oneness, God living as me. So before you get too freaked out or grading yourself on that, I want to tell you, we're more like a blob existing in all 4 at the same time. But it's the center of gravity of where are the consciousness, not on just our best days, but averaging all together. Where do we live? And I think you probably wouldn't be at a unity church this morning if you were center of gravity at the victim level, if you were still in that place where you believed yourself to be at the whims of fate. That is a bad place to be, and I was there for many, many years. But I didn't come to church. They found me singing in a bar in Dallas, Texas in 1993. But they paid me, so I came to the Center for Spiritual Living in Dallas, and I began to get this teaching, and I learned about this power for princes, palaces, and parking places, and began to work with it, fixed my money, got things going pretty well. I found that there was a way for me to regain agency, to know the power of my choice, and to go. The portal from Kingdom 1 to Kingdom 2 is to release victimhood and blame. Anybody ready to do that today? And here's the thing. I've been in this teaching now for 33 years. Had my first therapy session at 19. It was a little late, but I got there. I've been doing this work for a long time, and sometimes I still find myself back there. It would all be all right if they weren't doing that. About 10 minutes of the news, and I can be right back in Kingdom 1. Now, I do watch the news. I don't know if this is going to be in a sermon later or not, but I had sort of an insight that came to me. There are 3 things I need to be doing about the world of form right now. I need to be aware. So I spend about 10 minutes a day. First thing I do in the morning, look at the New York Times headlines. That's my practice, just to make sure that nothing has really blown up that's going to need my attention to change my sermon for the day. The second thing I need to do is listen to my intuitive mind and ask this question: what is mine to do about the world of form? And listen to see if there's some guidance there. And the third thing I want to do is be aware of the emergent, precious, fleeting gifts that are here in this world of form. When's the last time you held a newborn? Moments like that. Maybe not that exactly, but you can have moments every day that are precious and vulnerable and gifts if we're able to be conscious. Some of us want to just check out of the world of form, say, this is all illusion, I'm not a part of it, but we are. We're a part of this world. See, I distracted myself. Where was I? Yes, releasing victimhood and blame and moving into Kingdom 2. And it's a great place to be, but here's the thing, my beloveds. You're not meant to control the universe. It's exhausting. You don't have to control everything. And so there is a portal from Kingdom 2 into greater freedom from the by me, where I begin to declare my word and make everything the way I want it, to through me. It's called surrender. And many of us have experienced it at the end of an addiction, where we get to this place where we find ourselves on our knees and unable to make it work anymore. We surrender. We surrender to a higher power. And that portal takes us back through powerlessness, but in a different way. It's not the powerlessness of victimhood. It's a powerlessness of not giving up, but giving over. Giving over my need to control other people and places and things. Opening to possibility that I don't even have to plan or figure out. That this thing called life is so powerful and so good that it knows how to use all of me for good, even the parts that I still judge and criticize. If I surrender, then I am in this place where God can simply use me. Use me. Oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. That's Kingdom 3. That's the place of moving our egoic desires aside and saying, what can happen through me today for good? There was a quote a very famous quote that I wanted to share about the healthy side of Kingdom 2, though, before I get to it. Mary Morrissey does a deep teaching on this, which I love, from not Ralph Waldo Emerson, his gardener, Henry David Thoreau. And from his seminal work, Walden, near the end of that, he says this. Nope, wrong one. There we go. Here's Thoreau. If one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life which he has imagined, he will meet with a success unexpected in common hours. He will put some things behind, will pass an invisible boundary. New, universal, and more liberal laws will begin to establish themselves around and within him. Or the old laws will be expanded and interpreted in his favor in a more liberal sense. And he will live with the license of a higher order of beings. The question in Kingdom 2 that will continue us up this spiral is say, what do I want? What do I want to experience in terms of freedom, in terms of fulfillment? What do I want? It's a beautiful, healthy place to be. And some of us, you don't skip any of the stages of conscious evolution. And so what I'm encouraging you to do, wherever you are on this scale, to just be in that space of openness and ask the deep, truthful questions. What do I want? And that will begin to reveal your dreams and the direction. I'm so grateful that my sweet little dad never once said, you should get a job that's going to pay. He recognized I had a musical talent and said, just follow your dreams. I support you 100%. Both my parents did that. And it led me to some funky places and some really terrible gigs, but some good ones too. It began the journey. I knew I wanted to do music, and I followed that, and I began to explore, and I was pretty ambitious. I'm an Enneagram 3. I would sell and market myself pretty well. And I did. I began to grow in skill and experience. I used these teachings. You know, I was singing in a bar, as I mentioned, when the minister found me. I tell this all the time, but I know some of you are new, and it's part of my shtick. So it was a happy hour. There was nobody in the bar, Michael's Piano Bar in Cedar Springs in Dallas, and there was nobody there but me and him, but he was applauding. I was like, oh, nice. And then on my break, he came over and put a $5 tip in the fishbowl, and I thought, wow. He's going to ask me out. And instead, he asked me to sing at his church. And I thought, what kind of a church has a minister go to a gay piano bar to try and find talent? I may have found my church. 33 years later, I was right. I began to take these teachings up and to practice them. Oh, that word, practice. Because we have these layers of old belief and ideas about who we are, it's not a one-and-done deal. You don't just suddenly think prosperity and you demonstrate it. No, you actually have to work on rewiring the neural pathways. You have to work on releasing, identifying, like we say sometimes in the recovery world, I discover, uncover, and discard. Discover there is a pattern of thought and behavior that is limiting me. Uncover it. Where does this come from? And then discard it. Let it go. But I did that work, and I began to move in the direction of my dreams. I even recorded a song of that title, which you can find on Spotify and all the platforms where you can stream music. Free on YouTube. I'm not plugging myself, but I'm still a 3, so what can I tell you? But there came a point in my life where something began to turn. Like, I was tired. I was ready for the next, and I didn't know what it was, but I knew that something was calling me in a different way. And it might be ministry. Oh, I hope not. I hope it's not that. Anything but that. But my minister, Reverend Petra in Dallas, God had chased me down so far, it had actually built a seminary in my home church. And my minister's like, you need to be taking these classes. And like, I do not. And I said a bad word to her. I don't mind telling you. I won't tell you, but I'll tell you afterwards. So I don't know. I've got a good job. I don't want to do ministry. But it planted a seed. A few months later, I was at a conference in Atlanta. And they were having a Q&A about the seminary. And I thought, I just found myself in there, me and one other guy. And the dean of the school said, Michael Gott, because she knew my music, said, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I'm not sure, but I think this might be the next indicated step of my journey. And as soon as I heard myself say it, I knew it was true, and I was like, oh, man. and I resisted it, but I knew it was right. So have you ever done one of those things where you're moving forward, but you don't want to? I did that for 2 years in seminary. Why am I doing this? And then came a moment of surrender. I was doing a memorial service for a friend's mother. I didn't know the woman, but I mean, my friend, I knew obviously, but not her mom. But see, I didn't want to be a minister because I was afraid that I was too human for it. I make too many mistakes. And people project all kinds of weird expectations on us once they put that REV in front of the name, and I didn't want any part of that. Just wanted to be Michael. But people kept telling me that there was the mantle of ministry, it was upon me. And I was like, what? I don't know what that means. But some part of me, on that day, when I stood there behind the podium and I just read the obituary, I just said some words that made sense to me about the ongoing nature of life. I shared some of the stories about this woman that had been given to me to talk about. And I felt it. I felt that, from the dawn of human time, we've needed people to stand in that moment of grief and loss and transition and remind us of the deeper truth and connection. I felt it. And I stopped resisting. I surrendered and went from the portal from by me to through me. And I wrote a song around that time. It said, here I am, a vessel to be used. Whatever Spirit needs of me, I will be, I will be, I will be. And I quit resisting and somehow ended up here in front of you this morning. Yeah, thank you. I'll pay you later, Lorna. Some of you may not be as happy as others are about that. But... And I don't know. I don't know what's going to come next. I just know I'm here. This is where I'm supposed to be. And I'm going to keep surrendering. Keep trusting that power that knows how to keep the galaxies rotating and our sun spinning every day knows what it's doing as Michael God. Except when I get in there and muck it up. When I don't trust that there is a greater power. A power for good in this universe greater than I am, and it can use me. Very little of what I wrote here is what I've given you today, but it's about time to wrap it up. Yeah. The great mystery is that the true power of life enters us through our human powerlessness. And I don't understand it, but that is the truth. It's when our egoic and logical mind has gotten to the end of its ability to figure it out. And when we get to that place, and we just say, use me. Whatever you need of me, I will be. The way will be made. And I was going to say, I hope it doesn't end up here, but it might. Or another place like that. Maybe something you have been resisting. But I will tell you, it's going to be right, and it's going to be good. It's going to be so good. Because when we get out of the way, Katie, bar the door. What is that? That's an old phrase. My mom used to say, Katie, bar the door. Unbar the door. Let God have you. Let life sing its song through you. Because what's wanting to happen, and here's the thing, going back to my joke, I wasn't planning on tying back to that, but I did used to think that if I'm going to be walking a spiritual life, I don't get to do anything fun anymore. All those fun things don't get to happen. It's not the truth at all. I'm free to live the life that is truly, authentically mine to live. And that is when we're most useful to God. If no one has told you today that that is true for you, that there is a beautiful life of freedom and fulfillment already within you, if you let it happen, I'm here to tell you that. And if no one has told you today that they love you, I love you. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.